Hey gang, welcome back to Pirate Bait Company. Today we're going to talk about probably one of the most underutilized early spring techniques there is. If you don't have one of these rigged up early spring, like we're talking, well, in my area, March, April, you're really missing the boat. That is going to be the swim jig. Swim jig. What I love about a swim jig in early spring, you've got the bass that they're really relating to cover. See what happens early spring, you've got the sun rising kind of in the southeast. So those northwest pockets of any cove are going to receive sunlight first. And what happens is any structure that's back there, whether it's wood or rock, is going to heat up very quickly. And those bass are going to migrate to that structure and hold really tight to it. Your typical presentation in the spring for a lot of guys is going to be a jerkbait, a shad wrap, spinnerbait. However, a lot of guys are missing the boat on the swim jig. And the reason I like it, because as those bass pull tight to that cover, there is no better bait that you can work through cover than a swim jig. And it's weedless, somewhat snag proof. I mean, try and work a jerk bait around standing timber. It ain't gonna happen. Even a spinnerbait is okay, but a spinnerbait early spring, there's almost too much action on a spinnerbait for early spring fishing. Spinnerbaits start working well as you get into the shad spawn, blueback herring spawn, kind of a little bit later spring, not quite summer, but we're talking, late April, May. That's when a spinnerbait bite really starts taking off. But that March, April bite, you can't beat a swim jig. So this is the Pirate Bait Company swim jig. I'm going to tie a couple of these up for you today. But I also got this a plunder minnow 4.1 inch as a trailer. And this setup is, as I said, it comes through cover great. So if you've got standing timber, a lot of the big reservoirs around here have a lot of standing timber. Those bass are going to be in there really tight to that timber because that timber is going to reflect heat back into the water, and that's really what they're looking for, heat and food. And that time of the year, the shad spawn hasn't happened yet. The blueback herring spawn hasn't happened yet. So those bait fish moving into those shallows or out of those shallows are going to be a little bit bigger in size than when they get kind of later in spring, summer after they've spawned and the shad start growing. Then they're going to be a little bit smaller. But don't be afraid to throw something a little bigger profile and working it slowly through that cover to trigger bite. This is the blueback herring, probably one of my most popular swim jigs. Is this blueback herring color. It's good for any reservoir where you've got bait fish. This is going to be the one you want. And if you watched my video last week, we poured this plunder minnow. This is the 4.1 as a trailer. But it has good action, but it's subtle enough not to overwork the bait. But it gives you just a good side-to-side action. And as I said, it's subtle enough to work in that cold water and get those good reaction bites. The most popular size, 3/8. You can't go wrong. If you start with 3/8 ounce, you can't go wrong. I do like early spring, the 1/2 ounce model, which is what this is, because here's what's happening. You've got those bass transitioning from their deeper winter haunts up into the shallower spring spawning areas, looking for forage, looking for food. So in this 1/2 ounce, it gets you down there to where the cover is, and it kind of holds down there a little bit longer. So I usually will have a 3/8 and a 1/2 ounce tied on, depending on where those fish are positioned themselves in the water column and up against cover. But this 1/2 ounce, I've probably early spring catch more on this 1/2 ounce than anything else. So today we're going to tie up some swim jigs, and I've got an order that came in, and I want to shout out to this dude, man, Terry Palmer. It's his 5th order. And this guy just loaded up. He knows what the deal is in springtime. He loaded up on swim jig. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think he got like one of every color that I carry. And there was 2 that I sold out of. Bluegill and black and blue, which I'm going to tie up for Terry today for this video. So hey man, stick around, stick with it. And let me get set up here a little bit, and I'll bring it right back here in a second. We'll tie up a couple swim jigs. All right, gang, we're back. So as I mentioned, what we're going to tie up today is a color called bluegill. So in the springtime, a couple things are happening. A, you've got bass spawning. You also have bluegill spawning, or starting to move up to spawn. And those big female bass, they are feeding, and the big males are feeding on bluegill. So if you're throwing, if you're out there throwing springtime and, the blueback herring color and you're not getting the bites, try switching over to the bluegill. They might be targeting bluegill depending on the time of the year. So just pay attention to what's going on in the water. If you start seeing a lot of male or female bluegill swimming around, you might want to tie on the bluegill and try that a few times, because they could be targeting bluegill instead of shad. Pretty much once, as you guys know, I fish a lot of blueback herring waters, but once that spawn is over with, the blueback herring are out of those coves. You have some shad up in there spawning, but typically what happens about the same time as the bass spawn, you got bluegill starting to set up and move in to do their spawning deal as well. So we're going to tie up some bluegill swim jigs, and let me just bring you down here so I can show you kind of what we got going on and how we tie it, and I'm sure you're done looking at my ugly mug anyways. So bluegill. We have a half a tab of orange scale. That's going to be a belly color. Then we go into this is actually called Junebug. And this color is used on the lower parts of the side. So you're going to start with orange on the back. Then you're going to have a half of this on each side of that orange for the bottom part of the belly. And then kind of wrapping up the top, we're going to go into, this is called color, I think it's called Watermelon Magic. But it's a watermelon color with a little bit of blue shimmer to it. So that's going to be on the sides up toward the top. And then across the back, we just got a basic green pumpkin color. So let's get our jig loaded up here in the vise. And I use this vise, a lot of guys ask me. The name of it is Wapsi, W-A-P, I think it's S-I. But I just bought it on Amazon, and I think it's a great vise for this. And the reason is, it holds tight. You're using big hooks for jigs. Sometimes the typical fly tying vices that you buy, they don't give you enough clamp pressure to hold the jig in firmly so you can wrap it. This one's got this little knurled wheel that holds this nice and tight, and also these two adjusters that really clamp this jig in nice and tight. So, and I'll show you how I do it. So basically, I loosen up this top knurl, and there's a screw. Oops, I loosened up too much. It goes all the way through, and I take the jig and I put it under and back over so it's locked in nice and tight. Then I'll clamp these down, this one down, and then I tighten up this one down here. And it pulls these apart and pinches that really, really tight. So now that's in there, locked in there nice and tight. I can get good wraps on it, not have to worry about it potentially coming out. We're also using our green thread today. Let's hope I got this not all messed. Hey, look at that. It's not even tangled up. It's going to be a good day. So we'll flip this around. I always start, well, here, we'll do it this way first. I just put a base wrap on. Take off my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. So we'll just do a couple wraps just to create the base to get us started. I was going to throw it over here. My trash can is right there, but you guys may have seen me thinking I was just throwing it on the floor, which, yeah, you know what? Hey, I'm a guy. We do that stuff. Alrighty. So then I flip it upside down. Let me get my clamps tightened back up here. Let's see if I can bring in even a little bit closer so you can see exactly what's going on here. Bear with me a quick second. I got this new camera stand. It's actually pretty cool, man. I'm kind of digging it. My last video you saw was a little bit kind of shaky, so I ordered this new tripod thingamabob. It's taken me just a little while to get used to using it, so I apologize. I'm making you really dizzy, but there you go. All right, I think we got you locked in here good. Alrighty, so we got the jig upside down on the vise. We're going to start with our orange. And if you remember from my jigs, I'll show you this real quick. When I tie my swim jigs, I don't put the skirt material on the bottom down the back. It's just over the top and in the front. So when I tie my material on, I don't have to, like when you're tying a typical jig, you kind of center it. I don't have to do that. I just get it like this, because I'm going to cut that back off anyway, so I don't want to waste it. So then I'll throw a couple wraps around it. Come on now. To get her locked in place. And as I said, I'm going to cut all this off anyway, so I don't really waste a lot putting it back there. Then once I get it there, I take my, just one of these little hair clips and hold it in place. The one thing about Pirate Bay Company jigs, A, I hand tie everything. B, you know, I use a lot of different colors in my jigs, and you're not going to find that, I don't think, in anybody else's. They're going to use maybe one or two colors or full tabs. There's no separation between the colors. But I like to have a good separation between colors. I just think it makes for a better jig. Do the fish think that? I don't know. I don't think like a fish. Anyways, I'll put one tie on it just to hold it there nice and tight. Because again, I don't want that orange spilling over to the sides or on the top. If you look at, like, especially a male bluegill, they're very vibrant colors. And they have that, just that little bit of orange in the belly or on the throat. So that takes care of our bottom wrap. Now what I want to do is I'm going to start working on the sides. So I'll kind of turn this a little bit this way, and I'll take my June bug, and I'm going to tear this in half. And some guys will count the strands and yada yada. Well, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, and I guess I said this, the June bug is going to be the side, but it's going to be more toward the bottom. So take this off for a quick second. Let that, all right, we'll put that there. Never find that again. And we'll slide this under. And as I said, it's going to go over more leaning toward the bottom. Gather these up, we'll get another clip that I can lose on the floor. It's always fun when you get those clips on the floor. Then you come in here in your bare feet and you step on them. It's kind of like Legos. Remember Legos? We used to walk on those in the living room? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. These clips are the same way. Anyways, put a few wraps around it. All right. Now that's locked in. So now I want to flip it this way because now I want to do this side as well. Same color, same process. Layering our colors in. There we go, just like that. Let's see if I can do this with the clip without making it a hazard to my toes tomorrow morning. All right, we got that in. So then again, a couple wraps. And I'm going to throw a quick knot in there just to hold everything in place. You got a lot going on right there, and I don't want things moving around on me. So we'll just put one in there, just enough. We'll throw a couple wraps around it. I'll snug it down tight. Hit it one more time. What? Oh, no. Oh, I hate when that happens. Okay, guys, we broke our thread, so we're going to take a TV timeout while I fix this mess. So hang tight, be right back. Okay, gang, we are back. Basically, what I did to fix that is I just unwrapped the entire jig, retied it again, and starting kind of back over. So I got us back to where we were when I cut the video off. But hey, if you guys have any ideas, like I'm sure I'm not the only one that's broken thread while wrapping. If you have any ideas of how you could fix that without taking the whole thing apart, let me know down in the comments. I'd like to hear what you guys do when that happens to you guys. Because I don't know what the heck I'm thinking. It's just a little thin thread and I'm wrenching on it like an idiot. But anyways, so all right, so we got our two bottom side colors done. And if you see some that aren't like quite, you can adjust this, which is good. I definitely want like this purple to be down low on the sides. So I can just kind of move it around a little bit, get it where I think it needs to be. All right, there. So now we got our orange belly. We got our lower side June bug color. And now we're going to start building the top. So let's get all this twisted together so it's not creating a disaster. All right, so the top is going to be, this is going to be this watermelon magic. So it's got some blue shimmer in it. It also has a little bit of watermelon green to it, but it's going to give it, especially when it's moving through the water, that little bit of blue shimmer. A lot of times you'll see in bluegill scales, they've got a little bit of, it's that green-blue color. So again, we're going to build these two top side pieces. So we just kind of slide this under. And then we want to bring this kind of high, but not on the top, but just kind of high on the side, on top of that purple. Let me get one wrap on it, and then I'll lock it into there. Then I want to kind of just get it in here with the rest of these so we can keep it together. It doesn't get all janky and jacked up. Put a couple wraps on it. And when I wrap, I always try and wrap toward the head and try and keep the majority of my thread up here. So let's get our other side on. Same sort of deal. And actually what I should have done is I should have put this side on first. I apologize. It just makes, when you slide this under and pull it over, you don't got to pull it over the one you just wrapped, because sometimes it'll come loose and this will fall out. So let me just get one wrap on that just to get her snugged up in place. Alright, so that's there. So now I'm going to get all this together underneath this clip. And when I clip it, I clip the material, and I try and clip the nose of the jig as well. It kind of just keeps everything in place. Now, when I get to this point, before I put the back on, I get it wrapped up as tight to the head as I can, going up this way. Because again, I want the majority of my material built up here, not back here. So I tend to want to wrap to the front of the head and keep everything tight to the front. And what that basically does, yeah, it keeps it to the tight, but then it gives you a better flare in that skirt when it folds back if it's tight to the head. So I just get a couple good wraps on it before I put the final color in, kind of just like that. Now our final color is going to be this green pumpkin black for the back. And basically it's a full tab. I fold it in half. Slide it up under here, and I fold it in half because I want the majority of that material to stay on the top. It'll eventually kind of drape down the sides, but for the most part, I kind of want it up on the top. And again, we just kind of gonna get a couple good wraps on it to keep it where it needs to be. And we're gonna unclamp all this and get it all in there together. And this is the time where you want to just double check and make sure all your work is where you want it to be. It's layered properly, because once you kind of get a bunch of wraps on it, yeah, you're kind of done. So it's very tough to move it. All right, so we got everything in place. I just kind of hold the back here. Now again, I'm going to wrap this, and I want to get it up toward the head. And guys, don't pull it super tight, because man, right now you don't want to break that thread. The thread will tighten itself, and the UV epoxy that we'll use does an amazing job. So get a good wrap on it right up tight to that head, so that again, that skirt, when it folds back, has a nice full flare to it, and it's not just kind of laying back on the hook. So how many wraps do I put around it? I don't know. It depends on how much caffeine I had that day and how many I feel like wrapping. So that's about good. You just want a decent collar. So I started building these jigs because I could not find one that was sturdy enough and would hold up. Like, you'd go through, especially if you're banging it off cover all day, you go through 3, 4, 5 jigs because the head's beat up, the skirt's coming off, or it's came off, and I just got disgusted with it, and I just started building my own. And then from building my own, it just kind of got out of control into this little business, which has been great, by the way. So I got like maybe, I don't know, 6 knots on there. All right, just kind of snug it, but again, don't like jerk on the thing like you're freaking setting the hook on a 10-pounder like I did. Get her snugged up, cut the excess off, boom. All right, so here's where the magic starts to happen. So we got our skirt all tied up and tied on. One thing that I use is, I've shown you this before, it's UV glue. This is the thin UV. And I put this on first because I want it to penetrate into those threads and get down deep in the threads. I hit it with my light. It cures nice and tight. Then I go back over it with a UV thick, and I'll show you why I do that. But this is, again, it's on Amazon. It's just UV glue. If you just Google that, or search that on Amazon, it'll come up. I don't even see a manufacturer name on it anywhere, but that's what it is, UV glue. And I start with the thin is the first one I put on. So let me get my UV light over here. Make sure I got fresh batteries. Yep. One thing I will say, if you're going to do this UV deal, get a big light. Like, here's a light that I use. It's not the one that comes with the glue. When you buy this glue, it comes with a little light. But the problem is, after you do a few of these, the batteries go dead quick. And the key with UV is it cures the epoxy at a certain wavelength of UV. Once those batteries start going dead, it doesn't cure it all the way. So you want to get a good light that has a lot of batteries and gives it a good blast of UV. So make sure, so the one that comes with it is okay for about maybe a dozen jigs, but after that, you have problems. And what happens is that UV doesn't cure and it's sticky. So make the investment into a good light. I'm actually looking for something that's a plug-in type, but I haven't been able to find one yet. I've had a few that I've tried and it didn't work out. A lot of them are used in the nail salons when they do their whatever they do, and they put it under these lights to cure the nail stuff. But I've tried a few of those. They just haven't worked out well. Anyways, so just a couple drops. You don't need a lot of this stuff. Then I have this little, this is a tool that's used in the fishing rod building for when they wrap the eyes, they use this tool. I use it, it just helps me work that UV glue into those threads and make sure it's evenly coated. All right, so we got that done. Then I hit it with my UV light, and it doesn't take long. What you don't want to do is have your tube of glue sitting right here and ask a fella how he knows and hit it with the light, because this will cure and so will that tube of glue. So don't do that. Make sure your UV adhesive is not near your UV light somewhere. So again, I just hold it. And what I liked about the smaller lights is I would stand it up right here. This big one, it's kind of tough to do that with, and I just kind of spin it around, hit all sides, spin it this way. And you'll know, like, it's already hard as a rock right now. So it sets up within seconds. So that's good enough for us to work with to get to the next step. And I like to do that before I do this next step. And now what I want to do is I want to trim off all of this underskirting and get rid of all of this stuff. And the reason I don't put it on there, and I've watched this in testing in the water, is, and you wouldn't think it, but you know, on a regular jig, and I don't have one here to show you. Well, I can get one quick because I got a whole bunch over here, I think. No, I don't. Anyways, on a regular jig, let me just show you real quick. Yeah, here we go. Your skirt material, you've got this, what I call underskirting, which, you know, when you put your strands on or your tabs on, you've got part of the tab goes over the top and the other part goes down the bottom, and then this folds over. Well, on my swim jigs, I eliminate this part underneath. And the reason I do that is because, and I watched this, that part that's underneath, it impacts the action of the top skirt. And that's where you want your action to be. Because what'll happen when you put that trailer on, that part that's underneath kind of flares out and it gets all wrapped up in here. And it doesn't give it that nice swimming action. It kind of kills that action. So I cut off. So I started not putting the underskirt on like this, oh God, well, some years ago. And I think it just makes a better skirt presentation as it's coming through the water. So anyways, I trim this up nice and tight to that thread. And this is where it's critical. Like, I've seen other guys imitate this, but what they do, they don't do the next step because it takes more work. And yeah, I think you have to do it. I come back, then I'll cap up my thin so I don't blast it with UV light. Now I come back with UV glue, the thick. So it's the same company, and you can buy them in like a 2 or 3 pack, the UV glue thick. So I come back with that, and what I do is I create this hard head right here, and it ties all these strands together. Because what will happen if you don't do that, and just from my experience, is the threads will start to come apart and the strands will come out. This locks that skirt collar thread and the strands all into one, and it creates this hard head right here. It gives it great durability. As I said, I started building these because I couldn't find a durable swim jig that would hold up, and I was fishing reservoirs in North Carolina, Bugs Island, Gaston, and I'm banging it off rocks all day or around docks and working it through wood. Lake Fork, Texas, where I learned how to fish a swim jig. You're working it through all these trees, and all those limbs want to grab the skirt and grab the jig. But what I found, I put this thick on, and you got to be a little careful, and I'll show you in a minute. Let me just get a good coating on here. And you don't want it to get into your bait keeper, so I use this tool again, and I just make sure that it's just around the ends of those strands and then over onto the thread. And it's nicely coated. And this is a thick, so it gives it like a hard shell. Then I hit it with my light and give it a really good cure. And as I said, it creates this very hard shell on the ends of those threads, or strands, I'm sorry, and over those threads. And man, it locks it in good. Now I went from fishing like 5 or 6 swim jigs a day to really fishing 1, maybe 2 if you got into some of them toothy critters, northern pike pickerel. They tear shit up pretty, or snakeheads. Oh my God, they'll tear up a swim jig bad. So there, now that's all locked in. You see how quick that dries. So that is all, there's like a hard plastic head over the top of that. So now the strands at the back are locked into that thread. So if a critter grabs it from the back, they're gonna have a tough time dislodging these strands out of that deal there. So that's the bluegill. Let me just undo this. Take it out of here. So we just unclamp down here. Now it's loosening that jaw pressure. And man, guys, look at it. Wapsi Vice. Just go on Amazon, type in Wapsi. I'm not W-A-P. I think it's W-A-P-S-I. I don't know if I'm spelling that right. And whenever you're buying a jig vise, be sure they've got the ones with the locking thing back here. I have one. Had one. I think I just got rid of it. It never would clamp the jig tight. It was always doing this. So get the ones that have this nice lever and knurl in the back. It holds it nice and tight. And then it has these double adjusting pieces on it. Anyways, so here's what we have. So let me just move you back up here real quick. Bear with me, because again, this is my new setup gig here. I'll probably end up dropping you on the floor somehow. All right. So here's what we got. Whoa, whoa. See what I'm saying? I told you. All righty. So here's our swim jig in raw form. So again, we've got our green pumpkin back. Then it goes to this, it's called Watermelon Magic side on the top, and then the purple and the orange on the bottom. Now when I trim this, I leave it fairly long, so I kind of let my customer decide what they want to do. So I'll just kind of grab it, and I'll go about 1.5 inches back behind the hook, and then just give this here a trim. And again, when the customer gets it, it's going to be long. Trim it up to whatever you want. Everybody likes their skirts, it seems like, a different length. So there's kind of what you have. I'm going to put, obviously, a weed guard on it. I'll do that here next. I'm not going to bore you with that. But there is our bluegill swim jig, 3/8 ounce. But yeah, as I said, I don't put that underskirting on it. It just gives that outer skirt more action, and it doesn't impact the trailer. Like I'll show you on this one. Here is, of course, I don't have a trailer on, but you'll see that there's no underskirting on this one. And it just allows that outer skirt, when this is coming through the water, more action, and there's nothing here impacting the action of this skirt. So when this is coming through the water, it's just a subtle movement of that trailer gives this skirt great action. Before, what would happen is that skirt that ran down the shank, it would stick out and get tangled up and totally just kill the subtle action of that swim jig. So guys, I can't emphasize enough, if you don't have a swim jig in your springtime arsenal, you're seriously leaving a lot of fish behind. Because as I said, those fish, they're going to want to be tight to that cover, especially in those northwest coves in any reservoir, lake, whatever, because that's where the sun rises first and it hits that cove and it warms up whatever structure's back there. So head to those coves, look for wood rock, and man, get yourself a swim jig and get it working next to that standing timber over those rocks, because as I said, they're going to be tight to that cover come early spring. So check it out. Once again, guys, Tim K, Pirate Bait Company. Thank you for watching, man. Hit like, subscribe, share it with a friend. Welcome to the new shop again. This is my indoor shop where I do all the finishing. But hey, welcome to the channel. I greatly appreciate you. And Mr. got your name already, Terry Palmer. Dude, this is your 5th order is what my records show. And man, thank you very much. I got you ready to go. It's all going to go out in the mail for you today. I just had to get this one tied up for you, and we'll get it out. Once again, Tim K, PirateBaitCompany.com. Check it out. We'll see you in the next one.